what's going on guys, RAGNARAOK here, and today we're back with another list, and this time I want to talk about single player and or story based games that are coming out. Basically a lot of the big games that we're super looking forward to next year, hopefully, unless they get pushed out to the year afterwards, that are effectively going to be epic single player, big story experiences, or kind of just the games you tend to sit and play on your own, effectively. Some of these might have additional multiplayer components, but largely speaking, these are solo experiences. There's a lot of epic ones here, so let's talk about them. And of course, if there are any games that I didn't mention that you think belong on the list, because obviously we can't mention everything, then hit the comments down below, let me know what's on your list, and don't forget to hit that like if you're enjoying this video. Plus, if you want to see any of these games covered on the channel next year, then don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our coverage. So, let's kick it off with Horizon Forbidden West, Aloy's next adventure. Incredibly excited for this one. The gameplay they've shown so far looks fantastic. If you guys played Horizon Zero Dawn, then you kind of know what to expect. In fact, we recently did a video on some of the new abilities because they definitely incorporated some interesting new gameplay elements while still keeping the core of the game intact. So if you haven't seen that, definitely check that out. We uploaded that last week on the channel. But this of course continues the saga with Aloy. You have the ability to explore new lands, use some new equipment, things like a grappling hook, a glider for epic exploration, awesome puzzle solving, plus plenty of new weaponry, customization. There's a lot of stuff to look forward to, and this is slated for February the 18th. Of course, February and March next year are looking packed, so this is one of the games in your February schedule. Moving on from there to game number 2, my most anticipated game above all else, above every other game in existence right now, or game that doesn't exist right now because it hasn't released, but you know what I mean, Breath of the Wild sequel. I am a huge Zelda fan, and Breath of the Wild is one of my all-time favourite Zelda games alongside Ocarina of Time. I know Breath of the Wild for some people is quite a big departure from your traditional Zelda experiences, but honestly I loved every single minute of it, so when they said they were doing a sequel, whew, I am ready for that. Obviously, so far we've only seen a trailer. I'm really hoping we get something more. Like, I really want Nintendo to drop maybe like a trailer towards the end of the year. It's safe to say the game's not coming out this year. We don't currently have a release date for it. Originally, I thought maybe they might have been targeting the same sort of February-March window. It would have been emotional if it launched alongside Horizon Forbidden West, since the first game, Breath of the Wild, launched alongside Horizon Zero Dawn, and it's kind of peak. That being said, from the trailer we've seen so far, there's some really interesting theories that are being spun up. Of course, we've sort of seen the reanimated Ganon. We're seeing this potentially alternate version, maybe a different timeline version of Link, something like that. The guy with the tattoos all over his arm. Either way, it looks fantastic. Set in the same Breath of the Wild universe, but of course with lots of the land formations risen into the sky, giving us plenty of new areas to explore, the promise of more traditional style dungeons, more items to unlock, the expansion of the story. Honestly, I could go on for ages. In fact, I have done in previous videos. I've spoken about different ideas and theories. If you want to check them out, definitely give it a look. But either way, Breath of the Wild is going to be exciting. Following on from there, of course, another one. I mean, look, right, I'm a little bit biased because my guy's got a big beard, but God of War Ragnarok. This, of course, continues Kratos' saga. It's also going to wrap up the saga. They, of course, said that they didn't want to turn it into a trilogy and make people wait like another 3 to 5 years to complete the story. So this will close out the Norse narrative for Kratos. I'm sure there'll be another adventure beyond that point. But in this one, of course, new moves, new realms to explore. The realms that were previously not accessible in the first game will be open this time around. Atreus is older, and of course, the looming battle of the gods. Ragnarok, of course, being the pinnacle battle in Norse mythology. Safe to say, there's a lot going to go down in that game. That, of course, comes out next year. Still no release date, but that is one to look forward to. Now, following on from there, we then have Starfield. Starfield, of course, is set in an arena that extends outward from the solar system for approximately 50 light years, in an area called the Settled Systems. Around the year 2310, the two largest factions in the game, the United Colonies and the Freestar Collective, engaged in the Bloody Colony War, and the game takes place 20 years after the events of that war, in which major factions enjoy uneasy peace. As the player, we're then going to assume the role of a customizable character who is a member of Constellation, an organisation of space explorers, and the gameplay will then take place in either first or third person perspectives. Basically, the next big title from Bethesda, Skyrim in space, if you will. So for those of you guys looking for the next saga, then this of course is going to be coming to Xbox and Windows. Now that of course Microsoft own Bethesda, then unfortunately PlayStation players, if you want to play this, you're going to have to go over to either Xbox or PC. Following on from there, one for the Pokemon fans, this is kind of like Pokemon meets Monster Hunter. Pokemon Legends Arceus, I don't mean that in the sense that you're going to be going and hunting Pokemon carving them up and turn them into armor sets, although that would be kind of cool. I know it sounds kind of brutal, but I'm not gonna lie, making a Pikachu armor set wielding like a great sword made out of Charizard would be kind of cool. That aside, I make the comparison because of course this is quite a big departure from your traditional Pokemon experience, in that of course you go out and you are free roaming around the world, running and sort of like battling alongside your Pokemon. You will then be taking on sort of individual Monster Hunter style missions. That's kind of where the sort of comparison comes from, because of course you take this sort of quest-based nature, go out and rescue, study, or interact with other Pokemon around the world. As the players, you can capture Pokemon directly in the overworld without going through the sort of typical battle setup. But of course this one is set in the past, set in the bygone era of the Sinnoh region, an area known as the Hisui region, before of course the events of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl take place. So Diamond and Pearl launches of course later on this month, so this will basically give you the ability to find out what happened before that. I will say from the gameplay we've seen so far, I'm still a little bit on the fence on this one, but the departure from the traditional format is interesting, does sound potentially exciting, so I can't wait to sort of see what they offer. Following on from there, we then have Elden Ring. Incredibly excited for this one. Of course, the next entry into the Soulsborne series, the next From Software title. This one, of course, has an upcoming closed network test. I am very excited to hopefully jump into that one because, of course, it gives you the opportunity to test out the game, see the world, and record some gameplay. So if I'm lucky enough to get to that, I will, of course, bring some stuff to you guys. But basically, it is another Soulsborne adventure. I love these kind of games. As someone that got into the series quite late, but has since discovered my love for it, paired up with the fact that, of course, there have been suggestions of Norse mythology influence in some of the stories, maybe not in the kind of traditional sense, but apparently it will factor into certain elements of the game, which of course, as a fan of Norse mythology, definitely appeals to me. So basically, I'm just ready to get my butt kicked over and over and over again, and probably upload it as a video so you guys can enjoy it. So there we have it. That's coming out next year, February the 25th, also part of the February Mayhem. Then following on from there, if you want something a little bit less serious, Saints Row, of course, this is the next entry into the Saints Row series. Basically, your ability to do stupid stuff. Think of it like GTA, just a lot less serious. I've mentioned this in the past, but we actually used to cover Saints Row back in the day. It was one of the early games we covered on this channel before we, of course, kind of got into things like Monster Hunter and Destiny and all that stuff like that. There's probably some videos on the channel if you go back and search for that stuff anyway. Maybe don't, because the videos weren't great back then. Anyway, you get the point. Basically, this is set in the fictional city of Santaleso, and it's based in America's Southwest, under control of criminal gangs. You don't really need the story for Saints Row, let's be honest. You kind of just want to jump in the world, do crazy stuff, steal cars, use the ridiculous weaponry. Some of it is crude, assuming it's like the games before, so this is basically your ability to just do crazy stuff. Next game on the list is Marvel Midnight Suns. This, of course, is based on the comic series of the similar name. This one, from a gameplay perspective, looks more so like an XCOM approach to the Marvel universe, which, while it might not be everyone's cup of tea, I know there's a lot of XCOM fans out there, so that's definitely an appeal to some of you, and hopefully it ends up better than Avengers and maybe Guardians of the Galaxy. You play as a new character invented to take place in the story known as the Hunter. The game also features sort of a light card-based elements as well for some of the gameplay. Information is quite light right now, but it does still look interesting if you like those sort of strategic turn-based games like XCOM. That, of course, is slated also for February 25th, another one for the February Mayhem, coming to PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. Following on from there, we then have Stray. This is an indie cat adventure game. Basically, I like cats, I like stealth, and I like the sort of Asian city aesthetic, and this is basically me, alright? I mean, it's not honestly the kind of game that I thought I would be playing, nor is it the sort of game that I thought I would be excited for, but hey, here we are. I mean, we're in a funny timeline, anything goes these days, so now, me playing a stealth cat in Asia, let's go with it. The game is a third-person adventure game. It has open-world elements with a focus on atmosphere, exploration, and art. You control the stray cat, who falls into a world populated by robots and ventures to return to his family. You've got to solve puzzles to progress the narrative, you've got to move obstacles, traverse platforms, that kind of stuff, and you also are accompanied by a drone named B12, who can assist by translating the language of the robots and storing the items you find throughout the world. Sounds kind of cool. It's coming to PlayStation and PC early 2022. Then moving on from there, we have Kirby Forgotten Land. Now you might be thinking, you know what, Kirby in a single-player story-based game? I mean, it's a single-player game, definitely, but you know what I found out recently? Kirby's lore, Kirby's narrative, the story behind Kirby is actually hella deep. In fact, it's so deep that I can't even explain it. I'd say it's even more convoluted than Kingdom Hearts, so I feel like this belongs in a story-based game. But of course, Kirby the Forgotten Land is basically just the next game in the Kirby series, but this is awesome because it is also set in a 3D realm, so not like your kind of conventional side-scrolling Kirby adventure you're used to. This is kind of like Super Mario Odyssey with Kirby, which looks fantastic, set in a ruined landscape, and honestly, 3D platforming is my jam, so I'm excited for this. Coming to Switch, TBC release date. Moving on from there to quite possibly the game with the thickest plot in this list, we are of course talking about Bayonetta 3. Bayonetta 2 came out in 2014, so it's been quite a long time since the sequel. They announced Bayonetta 3 ages ago, and we've been waiting for a very long time. We recently got a look at the gameplay. It looks fantastic. There's some really cool elements where you can now like embody a giant. It's basically like taking on Godzilla or Kaiju and using them to battle other giant big ass enemies. Honestly, some of the abilities look fantastic, albeit a little crazy, but hey, that's what you expect from Bayonetta. So the continuation of the Bayonetta saga in number 3 definitely has me very excited. We then have Bomb Rush CYBERFUNK. Think of it like the spiritual successor to Jet Set Radio. It's the guys that made Lethal League Blaze, which we covered on the channel. I really like that one. It's kind of like it's sort of like a fighting game meets volleyball. It's really, really cool, really hectic and fast paced, but visually the animations are incredible, and they are working on a game called Bomb Rush CYBERFUNK. It's got an awesome soundtrack, amazing cel shaded visuals, and it features skateboarding and parkour. So basically, if you like Jet Set Radio, this is one for your list. And then finally, of course, Forspoken, the isekai video game. If you guys like your isekai anime, be that time I got reincarnated as a slime, Shield Hero, Sword Art Online, Overlord, anything like that, you name it. If you like them, then Square Enix are basically giving us their version. You play as this character who gets thrust into this fantasy world. You see giant dragons, you see magical parkour, basically the ability to just like seamlessly glide over and across the landscape. Looks incredible. Combat is full of particles. It looks super smooth, very interesting, and while admittedly again information is quite light on this one, from what I've seen so far, it has definitely piqued my interest. This one's coming to PlayStation and PC at some point next year, supposedly. So there you have it. That's a rundown on some of these single-player, story-based games that are coming out next year that you should be looking forward to, and that you might want to put on your radar if they're not already. Again, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Let me know what other games you think belong on this list. And if you guys do appreciate thick plot, then don't forget to subscribe. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to catch more from us, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our latest uploads. And if you want somewhere to hang out, play games, or chat all things from games to anime, food to fitness, consider joining the RAGNARAOK Gaming Discord.